Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today is another video where I try to fix various different things around the home. So as and when things go faulty, I film them, and when I have a certain amount of footage, I put them together in one video and then release it onto YouTube. So a lot of these things now wouldn't warrant their own repair video or trying to fix video, but by grouping them together, it makes it into a slightly more entertaining video where you can get various different quick fixes in the one video. So a lot of it might be obvious to most people, but remember, not obvious to everybody. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what you can do if you're having problems with your power bank. So this is one of these fancy power banks that outputs 5 volts via USB, but we can also have various different voltage via the DC jack here. So if you have a look, it's saying that there's 63% left. So there's a lot of charge in there, but if I plug in the iPad down here, you can see it's not drawing anything whatsoever. Turn it on here and it hasn't livened up, and you can see it is not charging. Now, with this one here, you will think that it looks like it's working okay, because if I was to hold this button down here, you will see that it will let me scroll through the different voltages here. So for example, if I wanted to output 19 volts on the DC jack there, I can leave it there. But look, turn it on here, it's still not livening up the iPad down here. All we need to do is recharge it, and somehow that kind of resets it, and then it will start working again. There is actually 63% of battery in here, but for some reason it's just not outputting via the USB ports. But when we charge it up again, we're only going from 63% upwards, but it will kind of reset it and it will start working again. So watch this now. I'm going to charge it up via the micro USB here. I'm going to plug this in, and you will see now it's started to charge, and you can see it's charging at 7.1 watts. Yeah, 7.7. Right, I'm just going to leave that for about just 1 minute, and then we'll try it on here, and you will see it will then start working, and then obviously we can just charge it up if we want, or just keep using it as it is now. Okay, so it's 1 minute later, and you can see we're still at 63%, so it hasn't charged up much, but that should be enough to reset it to get it to work again. So watch this now. I forgot to mention that it was the same on both USB ports, but I'll show you it working on both of them now. So watch this. Plug it in here. You can now see straight away it's coming up with charging, and we've got 11.3 watts or 10 watts. And now watch this. Unplug it. The charging symbol goes off there. Plug it into the other one, and again it starts working. So it's not that your power bank is flat, it's just somehow gets seized up, and then by charging it again, it's like resetting itself to allow you to use it again. So it's a nice easy fix. Don't throw your power bank away, you probably just need to charge it up again. We're going to be taking a look at my washing machine. So it's been getting noisier and noisier, and now it's packed up completely. And on some washes, not all washes, it's leaving these dots on the items. So this is just an old cloth here. You can see that one's heavily got them on, and this is a towel here, and can you see all the dots here? And these dots are the same size as the inside of the drum. So I don't know whether it's oil from the bearings breaking down, I'm not too sure. But let me show you the noise that this thing has been making. So this was filmed yesterday, just before it packed up. Doesn't sound too healthy, does it? So here it is. This is a Hotpoint Aquatis, and when it packed up, it wouldn't spin, and then when I went in here I tried to spin it and it wouldn't spin at all. Now it's freed itself up a bit, but it's still very stiff. There you go, look at that. There's loads of resistance there. Yeah, you can see now I'm using quite a bit of force to push that round, but yeah, if I really go for it, it will spin a bit, so something's obviously gone wrong. So I took the dryer off the top and started moving it around so I could get access to it, and there's all this weird powder underneath it here. So it kind of looks like it's powdery, but it looks like it's like a brown colour. It looks like rust, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. And also, this is why I grabbed the camera and started filming right now. There's the remains of a belt down here. So I don't know if the belt's perished But what I'm thinking is maybe the bearings might have gone and this is no longer spinning, yet the motor's still spinning, and maybe then the belt just kind of worked its way loose. So I'm going to make myself a little bit more room and I'm going to see if we can find out what's wrong with it. So I'm going to undo this pipe here, I'm going to undo the screws here to take the top off, and I'm also going to undo these screws here around this area to get access in there. Now interestingly, those brown splats that's on the towel and also down on the ground, look, they're all here as well. So it does look like some kind of oil, because now when it's up here, it's still like a powder form. You can see it's rubbing off, but the very fact it's splattered up like that makes me think that maybe it's some kind of oil. I bet the bearings have gone. Okay, and the back's all splattered there as well, and all this is completely splattered. Do you know what? Those bearings must have gone. So that's what's ruining all the clothing. Right, let's have a good look in here. So you can see the mess all around here. I'm presuming the bearings have sort of broken down inside. And then they've splattered all the oil and everything. Look down there. It's everywhere, isn't it? It really is everywhere. Right, so this is where the belt would have gone. And you can see the remains of the belt there on the floor. So I presume that belt has. Do you know what? Maybe. Let me just lift it up. I don't think that belt's broken. No, the belt is still in one piece, so it's not a problem with the belt. It's going to be the bearing here. Right, what I'm going to do is, rather than spend hours on this, I'm going to see whether you can actually get a spare bearing kit or not, because if these are like pushed in here, I'm not going to have proper pushers to get them in. I mean, you can see that that is not really wanting to turn. That's very stiff. And also I can see there, can you see it's wider here than, for example, it is there, or probably that side. Okay, well, let's see if we can get a bearing, because if you could, I wonder whether there's a way you could use a bit of wood and knock that bearing into place, because taking the bearing out wouldn't be that hard, because you could make a right mess of it. As long as you don't damage the case here, this kind of plastic case, then that should be okay. So I'm thinking that, I'm just wondering how that got to the inside. I suppose when I open this up here, if I go this far, if I can't get a bearing, then it's the end of the video. But if I can get this bearing out, I suppose it will become clear on the inside then how it started to stain the clothes. Maybe it drips down there, maybe that side of the bearing's designed to be wet. Well, I'm going to have a look online. Right, bad news. This is my one here. Somebody's asked a question. This is on espares.co.uk, and it says, I cannot find bearings for my washing machine anywhere. Do you know why or where can I find? And it says here, bearings cannot be replaced in your drum as it is welded together and cannot be dismantled and resealed. The only repair for bearings on your model is stock number, that one there. And when I type that one in, it's no longer manufactured. But basically, it's the massive drum. Now, I've gone onto a different website, and the drum for this particular one is £137.50. So when you take into account that there's going to be quite a bit of work, I mean, it is definitely doable. Everything here screws in and bolts on and stuff, so it is doable. But this washing machine now is, I don't know how old it is, 12, 14 years old. We've had it a long time. Is it cost effective to spend nearly £140 on it and also have to do loads of work on it when you could put £100 towards another Hotpoint washing machine which would actually have better specs than this and probably be more energy efficient than this as well? Unfortunately, I think this one here is just going to have to be used for spares, for fixing up other machines, because the motor is going to be good, probably control board. There's going to be various different things on here which will be usable to fix up other ones. But I know I don't like doing this, and I would spend all day fixing it if I didn't have to spend a huge amount of money on it, but to have to spend a huge amount of money on it in this instance here, it's not financially viable. So the problem with it is, when you're replacing the bearings, it's not just this bearing here, there's another bearing further in, and also there's a seal as well to obviously stop the water from the drum coming out onto the bearings. So I presume the inner bearing or the seal's probably gone as well, because remember, we're getting all this dirt in with inside the actual drum on the clothes. And with this one here, the drum itself is welded together. Now it's plastic, so it might be just plastic welded together, but there's no bolts to undo to separate it, because the drum's got to come away in two parts, so you can get to the back part to get to the bearings. So yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a shame, but that's the way it goes sometimes. You can't, even if you can fix something, sometimes it's not always viable to fix it. Let's move on to something else that can be fixed. Okay, here we have an in-ground trampoline, and on this one here, one of the springs last night went flying across the garden and whacked into the garden fence. You can see here that it snapped here, so I need to replace the spring just between here and here. So I've kept this tool from when I first of all installed this in-ground trampoline, and all you have to do is put it on here, use the hook here, drag it along and then hook it in. So I'm going to use that side on here, I'm going to copy the other ones and have the hook going down. And now we use that one here, and all I'm going to do is use a bit of strength and pull and push down at the same time, and there we go. That spring is now in. Nice and easy. Let's move on to another one. To fit a screen protector onto an iPhone XR, we're going to use this stencil here. It has top and bottom on it. We're going to get our actual screen protector, and we're going to peel this off. We're going to keep our fingers away from the top part, and we're going to drop it into place. And because of the stencil, it can't go anywhere else. Now watch this. If I touch it here, you're going to see now that it's going to start spreading all the way up. Look at that. And there we go. Take the stencil off. We can give it a little wipe down there. If there's any air bubbles, you have to push them out from the middle going outwards, and you can see now that we have a perfect screen protector on there. Beforehand, you need to make sure obviously your screen is perfectly clean, and if you've got any dust anywhere, then you can use this little sticker here. If you find that your USB drive's not working on your TV, then I'm going to show you a quick fix that should get it working. So as you can see here, it keeps coming up with no content found, yet my USB drive's absolutely fine. So all we're going to do is we're going to turn off our TV, but we're not going to leave it in standby. We're now going to go to where it's plugged into the power point on the wall, and we're actually going to unplug it completely for 30 seconds. So I'm just going to go and do that. Okay, so I've unplugged it for 30 seconds. Now let's turn it on, and hopefully this time it should find everything. Now you notice it's taken a lot longer this time. And there we go, you can see at the bottom we've got more icons and all the files are now there. I'm going to be changing the batteries on this 6-volt ride-on children's toy car here. So this has been laid up for a few years. It was working perfectly, but the battery has now drained and it won't charge up again. I took it out recently to get rid of it, and when I plugged it in, I left it charging overnight. As soon as I took out the charger, there was a very slight bit of power, but not enough to move with any weight on it. And now, if you look at it now, when I put the ignition on, it will just make a little kind of clicking noise. And it doesn't matter whether it's forward or backwards, it doesn't do anything. So I'm hoping that it's just a battery related problem. So I've bought a battery off eBay for £15, which is down here. I'm going to be using very basic tools, which is a scissors to just open up the box and a crosshead screwdriver. So let's get started, and hopefully by the end of it, £15 will get this up and running again for another child to enjoy. So to begin with, we're going to undo this. You see there's a lock symbol here and an unlock symbol here. So we're just going to move this around. If you don't want to do it with your nails, just use a little coin or something like that. So now it's in that position there, we're going to move the seat upwards. Now there is a little clip at the back here, so it takes a little bit of wiggling to get it off. You see this little clip here fits into this slot here. Okay, so that's the seat out, and this is where the battery is located here. The same way as you go to charge it up. So let's undo this plug here by just squeezing it and pulling it out. And now I'm going to get the crosshead screwdriver and I'm going to undo this screw here on this little bar going across. So we're going to be turning it counterclockwise, anti-clockwise to the left. I'm going to be lifting that up there and just sliding it out from the front there. That is our battery. So what you can do is now you can find out what size the battery is, so you can measure the battery, and you can also look, you can see it says 6 volts, and this one here is 7 amp hours. Now I'm replacing it with a 6 volt, but I think the one I got is 12 amp hours. What this basically means is that 12 amp hours is going to output 6 volts longer than a 7 amp hour battery. So they're both perfectly safe to use because they're both 6 volts. It's just the higher the number here, the amp hours, the longer the battery is going to output 6 volts for. So I measured this one up here, and my 12 amp one is slightly bigger. I'm hoping it's going to fit in here. Let's open up the box. You can see there, 6 volt, 12 amp hour rechargeable battery for Aldi Kids Electric Ride-On Car. Obviously it doesn't matter about the make, and it was £14.25 in total. And you can see that this one is 6 volts but 12 amp hours. So let's get the crosshead screwdriver and let's undo the 2 screws here. Now this lid is not going to fit on here, and also there's no little screws here for this top bit to screw on. But what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using the same connections on it. Obviously if your battery is exactly the same, you'll be able to reuse this top part as well. But if you have a look, can you see here we just have spade connections? So obviously black is going to go to negative, and you can see here there's a positive, and we're going to do red. You can see it's color coded, red for the red lead and black for the black lead. There's these tiny little clips just here, so you can just put your fingernail on there, just give it a little press, and then it will easily slide off. So you can see it's like locked into place, but by pressing that it will easily come off. Now this one here is going to be a bit harder because it's on the opposite side. So I'm just going to bend this up a little bit and then get my finger under there to the little connection, and you can see it's now slid off. So you need to recycle that safely, and we're going to put this one on here. Now there's no point in even having this on here because you can see it's not going to screw into anything, it's not going to do anything there, so we might as well just bring that through here. We can leave that on it, that's not going to do any harm. And we're going to be putting the black lead onto there, clicked into place, and the red lead onto here. I'm just going to remove the little safety plastic cover there. There you go, and that's now clipped on. Now let's put this into the car. So if you have a look here, can you see there's different mouldings here for different depths of battery? So the original battery would have just fitted in this bottom one, but the wider one now will fit in this one here. So if you have a look, that fits nice and securely just there. Yep. And we're going to have the positive side over here. Now remember, this hasn't got the lid on it here, but that's fine because now the bigger battery will fit in without the top bit. So I'm going to be placing this bar back in. I'm going to put it just underneath this wire here, otherwise it's going to be crushing down on the wire. So we're going under the wire into that little locating bit there, and then we're just going to be putting the screw back in exactly the same as you took it out, just a reverse of that. So now I'm going to be doing the screw up. So now you can see the battery is as secure as it was before because it moved about a little bit before. And now we're just going to be connecting up this one here. I'm just going to do it underneath here to keep it out of the way of everything. So there we go. That's connected up here now. So now we can put the seat back on, and you can see that nothing's going to fail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of sellotape with the 2 screws, and I'm just going to keep this cover in here because in the future somebody might want to put a different size battery in, and at least then the original cover is with it. And now we're going to get the seat. We're going to make sure that this is in the unlock position, so make sure it is unlocked there, and we're going to slide this down, making sure that this locates in this hole at the back here. There we go, and let's lock it into place, push that down and twist that. So now hopefully it should be working. So let's turn on the ignition and let's see if we've got any power in it this time. The batteries will need charging up. There we go. Excellent. Right, so if it's going to work for an 11-year-old, it will certainly work with a 3 or 4-year-old. So turn on that ignition and yeah, go forward and just back a couple of times. There we go, and back. Perfect, and forward again. That's it. So it's well worth fixing something like that for the sake of spending 15 UK pounds, not a huge amount of money. So that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more videos. Take care. Bye now. bye.